Now, I'm a little late with this one, but I did still want to speak on this just to have it on the record. And what I'll be speaking on today is House Resolution 1125, condemning rising anti-Semitism. Now, the reason I'm speaking on this is because the Democrats agreeing on this in the House continues to highlight the lack of respect that they have for the black community. Now, don't get me wrong. I have absolutely no issue at all with the House passing this resolution. Anti-Semitism should 100% be condemned. So let's get that clear. I have no problem with this at all. But what I do have a problem with is the way in which the Democratic Party consistently slaps black Americans across the mouth, and we respond by consistently acting as if the slap didn't happen and then reward the Democrats with our votes while they continue to do nothing of substance for the black community in return. This House resolution was introduced 3 days after the anti-black racist Buffalo shooting on May 17th. The next day, May 18th, it was voted on almost unanimously by the House. Yet the cries of black Americans for an anti-black hate crime bill continues to go ignored. Now, mind you, there is a difference between what is known as a House simple resolution, which is what House Resolution 1125 is, and an actual bill that is intended to become law if voted upon in the House and the Senate. An example of this would be H.R. 40. Those are two completely different things. A House simple resolution, like what's on your screen right now, H.Res. 1125, is simply the House agreeing upon and officially acknowledging whatever it is that's going on in the country at the time. So when you look at House Res 1125, and where it says tracker, you see highlighted in black, agreed to in House, that is the House of Representatives telling the Jewish community that we are officially acknowledging the rise in anti-Semitism. It is an official acknowledgement by the House of Representatives. That is all this is. So I just wanted to make sure that we have that understanding before we move forward. If you see HR, that is a bill that is intended to become law. If you see H.Res., that is not a bill that is intended to become law, but is an official acknowledgement of whatever is happening in the country by the House of Representatives. Nonetheless, the House, which is controlled by the Democrats, were quick to officially acknowledge the rise of anti-Semitism in the wake of the anti-black racist Buffalo shooting, yet refused to officially acknowledge the rise of anti-black racism exclusively and independent of so-called people of color, minorities, and marginalized groups, the same way that they have done for the Jewish community in their acknowledgement of rising anti-Semitism. You see, what I'm trying to get black Americans to understand, particularly those of you who are party loyalists to the Democratic Party, is the consistency with which the Democrats continuously ignore you when it comes to legitimate gripes and concerns that black Americans want addressed that come up from the grassroots. It was mainstream media that told you that they wanted to give you a George Floyd policing bill. It was mainstream media who told you that they wanted to give you the John Lewis voting rights bill. And then what happens is that you take what they've told you and then internalize it as if it came from you when it didn't. Because what the black grassroots have been demanding since the Buffalo shooting and even before that was an anti-black hate crime bill, transformative concrete legislation that will close the black-white racial wealth gap, and reparations for the descendants of American slavery, all of which have been ignored. They even ignored one of their top go-to guys that they love to throw on TV whenever a black American gets killed, Benjamin Crump. Surprisingly, and I will give him credit for this, Benjamin Crump was the only mainstream personality that was out here making the case for an anti-black hate crime bill.
This is an opportunity for us to try to finish the policy that was initiated when the young white supremacist Dylan Roof killed all those innocent black people in the church in Charleston, South Carolina, Angela. I mean, we talked about then having an anti-black hate crime bill passed by the U.S. Congress, but it stalled. And we saw last year, Stephanie, and we celebrated it, that they passed the anti-Asian hate bill. So maybe in the wake, Tiffany, of this tragedy here in Buffalo, New York, Raymond, just maybe we can finally get the anti-black hate crime bill passed in the United States Congress in the spirit of these lost lives here in Buffalo, New York. We are imploring President Biden to use whatever influence he has to tell America we need to pass this bill because Black America is suffering right now. And we need to know that our top leaders in America react and respond when we are hurt too, like they acted and responded when others were hurt.
Look at how Benjamin Crump was pleading for the Democrats to pass an anti-Black hate crime bill in the House, and even he was ignored, only to receive this as a response.
And I hope when the president goes today, and there's no one better with giving a real compassion and feeling to families than President Joe Biden. I was in the room when he met with George Floyd's family the day before we had the funeral services in Houston. He is very compassionate, and so is Dr. Joe Biden. And I think he meeting with the first responders and community leaders is good, and then dealing with gun issue is good. But I also want him to come out and go from empathy to really dealing with this as a national hate crime level that is not just against blacks, but is against anyone that white supremacists feel are not like them, which includes Jews, Asians, Latino Americans, LGBTQ. The night this happened, when I was called by our people on the ground in National Action Network's chapter in Buffalo, I reached out to Jonathan Greenblatt. I reached out from the ADL. I reached out to the head of LULAC. Latinos. I reached out to Mark Morial and said we need to call on a White House conference on hate crimes. We may all not agree on every issue, but we all are being targeted, and the president must raise it to that level to say we've got to deal with hate.
You see how the focus can never just be on Black Americans? Somehow, some way, the Democrats and their minions are going to find a way to make your tragedies about everybody else but you. And somehow, some way, far too many Black Americans will find a way to justify throwing their votes away to the Democratic Party without receiving anything in return for their votes. And because we continuously reward them without consequences, they continuously do nothing for the Black community, because why would they if you're just going to vote for them anyways? And with all that being said, that does it for today's video. So please make sure you hit the subscribe button as well as the bell notification next to the subscribe button so you can be notified whenever I release a new video. All social media links will be pinned in the comment section below. Please make sure you text tdhiphop to number 33222. That's tdhiphop to number 33222. That way you'll get a direct text notification whenever I release a new video, but it also serves as a protection plan for myself in case YouTube ever gives this channel the axe. I'll be able to send you a direct link to where you can find me next. And last but not least, for those of you who have a love and appreciation for the work that I put in on this channel, the #1 way you can show your support is through Patreon. For only $3 a month, that will help put me in position to take TD Hip Hop Media off of YouTube. Remember, the goal is not to grow big on YouTube, but to grow independent of YouTube. And for those who have issues with joining Patreon, you could also hit the join button that's next to the subscribe button, and that way you can become an official channel member for as little as $3 a month as well. And lastly, if you have not already, please make sure you join the emailing list. There is no way that I can go independent of YouTube if I cannot take the audience with me. And the link to that will be pinned in the comment section as well. Thank you for your time, and until the next video, peace.